But as this process is rolled on, and then we've had first round interviews and second round interviews, and now ultimately to the announcement this week that Omar Khan will be the new general manager of the Steelers. As I look at the hires that they've made, I think this is really a best of both worlds situation for the Steelers. They're able to, do what they're comfortable with, promoting from within someone that knows their philosophies, knows their approach, knows how they like to conduct themselves, handle their business, all of those good things in Omar Khan. This guy's been here 21 years. 21 years, he's basically been doing largely the same role, and that has been, enacting wizardry and witchcraft with the salary cap. We know what Ben Roethlisberger's contract over the last 5-6 years has done to the Steelers and the kind of situation and corner it has backed them into in terms of the way they can spend their money. But if you want to look to the guy or give credit to the individual who is the reason why they're able to finagle around that, create seemingly cap space out of nowhere, and add talent and continue to field a competitive roster, look no further than Omar Khan. That's been his forte. That's been his primary skill and job, and he has done it to absolute perfection for the Steelers. But I think what is key to me is, yes, they're hiring someone that they are familiar with, that is obviously very familiar with how they like to do things. So they aren't changing the guard all that much from Kevin Colbert to Omar Khan. It's a very similar, I would think, philosophy, unless Omar Khan is going to come in here and completely, tear everything down and build it once again in his image and how he wants things to operate. I don't expect that to be the case, but maybe that could be a scenario. Probably unlikely. Very unlikely, I would think. But I think the Steelers do a good thing here in, yes, they are hiring someone from within, something that they've shown time and time again they're very comfortable with in a lot of their hirings they've made. But they're also going against the grain, and they're trying a different tack. They're trying a different path, a different method that I think we're seeing from a lot of the rest of the league in how they are addressing their front office, making hirings, putting people in there to make decisions for their team. If you look at the rest of the league, the vast majority of general managers, president of football operations, whatever title you want to give them, the vast majority of people around the league that hold that title have a scouting background. They are the guys like, Kevin Colbert got his start, where, they were, maybe a recruiter at some point when they started their career at a small college, and they get to the NFL and they're a scout that's, flying out to Montana and Wyoming and to random schools in Mississippi and Georgia and Tennessee, just trying to find the talent wherever they can find it. That's how a lot of guys have gotten their starts, and they rise up through the ranks and they become pro scouting directors. They become directors of scouting, whatever title you want to give them. There's so many of them. But the vast majority of general managers around the league have that background. Omar Khan does not. And so this is kind of a shift from the norm, or a different path being taken by the Steelers against the grain where, yes, everyone else is doing it this way. We think with the guy that is going to be, the head honcho running the operation here, we like the job that he has done, and we think we are confident enough, comfortable enough in the staff we can put around him that we can continue to let him, and obviously have final say on all decisions and personnel moves that they make. But I think the Steelers looked and they said, we really like what this guy does. He knows what we're trying to do as an organization. Let's promote him. And yes, maybe the rest of the league is doing it differently or has been doing it one way for another time. But we're the Pittsburgh Steelers, and we're going to try something different while simultaneously having a guy that we're very, very familiar with and comfortable with because he's been here for over 2 decades. That being said, the other thing too is, not only are they promoting from within, which is, yes, something that I know myself and many others of us in this town have lamented and complained about, especially when they're looking for a new defensive coordinator, when they've looked for new offensive coordinators last offseason, promoting Matt Canada. We've all lamented and complained about the promoting from within, the lack of new ideas, new perspectives. We've complained about all these things. And while, yes, the Steelers have promoted Omar Khan from within, similar to what they did with Terrell Austin They bring in Brian Flores, someone who's going to work very, very closely with him, albeit below him, but is going to have a lot of cachet in that room, that is going to have a lot of say in what they do defensively, and bring some fresh new ideas and perspectives. That's what I see in the Andy Weidl move as well. This is a guy who was a vice president with the Eagles. He was one of the guys, one of the 6 that received a second interview with the Steelers for this GM position that ultimately goes to Khan. But Weidl's a Pittsburgh native. Guy grew up in Mount Lebanon. And he started his career in '98 as a player personnel assistant with the Steelers. So you knew there was going to be someone with either Pittsburgh ties and or had worked for the Steelers in the past. But this guy's been with the Eagles since 2016. So he's seen the Philadelphia Eagles win a Super Bowl in 2017. And prior to that, he worked for the Baltimore Ravens, who won a Super Bowl in 2012. Baltimore Ravens, a very respectable organization in terms of their front office, how they conduct their business, all of those things. The Ozzie Newsomes, Eric DeCostas, they've done a phenomenal job. The Eagles, a team that maybe we make fun of sometimes, I'm sure, I know Eagles fans and Philadelphia fans certainly aren't always happy with Howie Roseman, the guy who was above Andy Weidl in that hierarchy in Philadelphia, but still a team that 5 years ago won a Super Bowl with a roster that was largely constructed or helped constructed by Andy Weidl. Okay, this is a guy that learned under, Tom Donahue and Bill Nunn, and, he has a player personnel background. So while they have Omar Khan, who is the hire from within, the promotion from within that has the business background, the guy they bring out from externally, that yes, has familiarity with the Steelers and a history here, but a guy that's coming from other organizations where they've had success within the last decade, where they've won Super Bowls, where they've constructed very talented rosters. You bring that guy into the fold as well to provide a different perspective, a different point of view, new ideas with how rosters can be constructed and how the Pittsburgh Steelers can change or alter themselves or get with the times, maybe, in a sense. He was with the Eagles when they won a Super Bowl in 2017. He was with the Ravens when they won a Super Bowl in 2012. That excites me because the Pittsburgh Steelers have not won a Super Bowl in a very long time. We all know that. It's been a little bit. It's been a little bit since they've been to a Super Bowl. What was it, 2010? When they lost to Green Bay? 2008 was when they won it against Arizona and Tampa? Yeah. 12 years. I know that Ravens one is a decade ago, but this is a guy that was part of front offices that put together Super Bowl winning teams in recent years. And now, while you have Omar Khan be the guy who oversees the operation, who has the final say, who is the successor to Kevin Colbert, you're bringing in and not intimidated by minds and people with experiences that can only work to benefit what the Steelers want to do, right? So when I look at the hiring or the promotion of Omar Khan, I look at the hiring of Andy Weidl, this excites me. This excites me because it's similar to what we've seen the Steelers do in a lot of respects this offseason. Or I guess just one other, but a very big one. They promote the defensive coordinator from within. They go out and they bring in Brian Flores, a very accomplished defensive coach, to be his number 2. Similarly, they've done the same here. They promote a guy who's got a great track record with this franchise in Omar Khan, who's been here over 2 decades, but they also bring someone to be his number 2 that is very accomplished in his field as well, that brings a different perspective, a different background, a different career trajectory to this point. I think that can only serve to help the Pittsburgh Steelers. The lingering question I have is, what does this mean for Brandon Hunt? Because like I said off the top, I thought it was a shoo-in that Brandon Hunt would be the hire as the general manager when we found out that Kevin Colbert wasn't returning months and months and months ago. I thought it was a natural progression, similar career path to Khan. He'd been with the Steelers for a very long time, but comes from that scouting wing of things as opposed to the business side of things, more in line with what the Steelers had in Kevin Colbert for so many years, and a guy who obviously learned a lot from Kevin Colbert. A student of Kevin Colbert, if you will, which Omar Khan is just as much, I'm sure. Though the one thing that stood out to me, and I know that Khan did interview for the GM job with the Bears earlier this offseason, we saw Brandon Hunt interviewing for a couple more. He was putting feelers out there. I know he had an interview with the Eagles. He was out there, being coveted by a lot of other teams. A lot of other organizations were giving him a look, giving him an interview, and he was testing the waters a little more. And, it started to dawn on me after a little bit that, okay, well, maybe if this guy is fielding these many interviews, maybe that's an indication or a sign that he understands that, all right, well, he was seeing the writing on the wall and coming to a conclusion, maybe I'm not going to get this role. But I think Brandon Hunt is someone who certainly is highly coveted around the league. Someone with a great track record as well. Some of the acquisitions he's made as a Steelers pro scouting director. So, do I think he's going to remain with the franchise? Would I love him to? Obviously, yeah, he's done a very good job. And you can't have enough young and up-and-coming minds in your front office that other teams covet. If teams covet them, that means that they're doing something right. And that means that's someone you want to retain. But if not, I would probably think that more than likely we're going to see Brandon Hunt go elsewhere as this hiring cycle of general managers around the league rolls on and continues here. Though the Steelers are kind of the last domino to fall, but obviously if he was interviewing for other roles, I think there's a better chance that we see Brandon Hunt move on from here. The other question that I think has been raised on the air here over the last couple of days is, what does this mean for Mike Tomlin? Does this expand Mike Tomlin's role?